Good morning, everyone. It is Rollie, and welcome to another Chatting with Wisdom. And for those of you who are catching the audio, I just want to say, yay! We finally got this going audio-wise. So thank you, Teresa, for finally getting it going. There's still a couple of places that it's still not happening, but my go-to is Spotify, and it is on Spotify. So yay! So I'm super excited about that. That happened last week because we were having some difficulties. So for those of you who are catching the audio version of this, I am so happy that you're here. And it has been a long haul for us to be able to try and get it here with technology. And there's just so many moving parts that people don't realize jumping on Facebook Live is pretty easily. Jumping on YouTube is pretty easy, but trying to make sure all the other moving parts are in place. So thank you very much to my VA, my virtual assistant, Teresa, who has been able to get this going. And so now we're trying to get it on Apple. So that's the next. I'm not an Apple product person, so I don't know that it's not there. So somebody else is checking to make sure that it's all up and running properly. And so yay. So I want to start off by saying thank you to the people in the back end, because that is the part that is so important. And they just kind of do things in the back end, and then they don't always get acknowledged. And I just think that it's important, because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this on audio. Yay! So anyway, I digress. So I want to talk about what we are going to be talking about today. So unapologetically, you achieve the goals that matter to you. And so this is Angela, and I should have asked you how to pronounce your last name.
Di Paola.
Okay. I definitely would have butchered it. So this is Angela, and she's a self-development consultant and coach. She helps professional women to develop laser-focused clarity and mindset so that they can achieve extraordinary goals and lead a life full of confidence, energy, excitement without fear, overwhelm, and guilt. Angela is also the author of her upcoming book, That's Life, or Is It? Reclaiming Your Time for Yourself, a woman's guide to discovering lasting happiness and fulfillment. Tired of seeing brilliant, hardworking women continuously put themselves last, Angela set out to write a book aimed to help women reclaim their time, their value, and ultimately themselves. Her book provides practical tips to overcome common mindset traps and to live with purpose. She is proud to be working with Black Card Books, the fastest growing publishing book company in North America. And so welcome, Angela. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I am super excited because I never prepare ahead of time. I always come in the morning as we come in. And so I was reading through and getting to your bio and noticed that you're in Quebec. So you're another Canadian. Yay! So this is exciting. And not that I don't get excited with having other people around the world either, but it is so nice to be able to have people in our own backyard. So I am on the eastern side of Ontario, so I'm very close to Quebec. To the Quebec side. So our Quebec border is only 20 minutes away here.
Oh, so, wow. Yeah, it's really close.
So it's really close. So we're pretty close. We're very close neighbors.
Awesome.
So this is really exciting to be able to have you here. So one of the things that you had said in your bio is you were talking about the mindset traps that we actually get into about not having enough time for ourselves. And I think that is the biggest thing that I hear, and you probably do as a coach as well. I hear so much of, oh, I would love to be able to participate in one of those workshops or one of those masterminds or one of those retreats, but I just don't have time. Right. So we never seem to have time for ourselves. And so and I think that's and that was what jumped out at me the most when I read your bio. So so what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's this tendency, I don't know, this belief that we think that if we make time for ourselves, we're being selfish, unless it's something that's super productive or super work oriented. If we're making time for ourselves, it's selfish, and it should always be sacrificed, and it should always be put aside for either other people or for some work related endeavor. And the reality is that it's so necessary. We need time to take care of ourselves. We need to, because if we don't take care of ourselves, how can we possibly take care of the people around us who need us the most? And we forget that for some reason. And it's so critical. It's so critical to to look after yourself and to remember that you're worth it. You deserve to have time and to enjoy your life. You're on this earth to enjoy life.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, it was, I was just going to re-emphasize that, but it's
Well,
true.
and I was actually just going to kind of tie into that, is that this is something that I work with my clients on, and I remind my clients all the time. And so I went on Sunday to a friend's property where we're looking at hosting a retreat. And
Okay.
I spent the entire afternoon doing nothing, literally. Like, we were floating around, we were in the kayak, we were doing, enjoying the sun, we were doing all these things. And
Yeah.
I had taken a few pictures of the property before I had left, and my post that I had actually made was like, "Hey, I'm playing hooky," and it was really interesting to see how people commented, and it's like, no, it's important for you to be able to take time for yourself, and blah 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 blah. And it's just so easy for us to look at it from the outside
Yeah.
that we forget about the inside.
Yeah.
Right? So if somebody says, oh yeah, well, I didn't really do anything, I just kind of took a lazy day back, and you hear all the people saying it's really important, but yet when you ask them, so what did you do for yourself, they're like, well, I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's so amazing. We're so compassionate towards other people and understanding, and genuinely so. It's not fake when we say, hey, it's amazing that you went out and took that time, because we believe it. And yet, for some reason, when we're looking at ourselves, for whatever reason, we don't put that same value on ourselves, and we definitely do not give ourselves that same level of compassion. And sometimes it's worth just taking a step back and asking yourself, wait a second, why not?
Yeah.
The longest relationship I'm going to be with is with myself. Therefore, maybe I might want to nurture that relationship.
And it is so true, isn't it? Like, this is like, it doesn't matter where we go, we bring ourselves with us.
Yeah.
And other people are not necessarily around.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like, it's definitely that important part. So so we have a couple of comments that I forgot to click on. So Marianne says hello, and she's saying that she hopes that I got rested last night, and I definitely did. I had a sinus headache yesterday, so it's really humid and everything right here, and so like, I'm thinking that the pollens are pretty heavy. I haven't checked what the pollens are, but our humidex is pretty high, and so I ended up with like that behind the sinuses headache. So that's what Marianne's referring to. So thanks very much, Marianne. So but yeah, it is just something that we always seem to forget. So and the other thing that I think that is something that's really important is that we forget to be us.
Yes.
Right? We're always, do you want to talk about that a little?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I find that, and I'm guilty of this too sometimes, so this is by no means a judgment, because I do it as well. But we tend to get into this life of doing things on automatic. We get up, we do, we go to work, or we take care of the family, whatever it is, but it's sort of routine, and we don't really break from it, and we don't take the time to pause and really ask ourselves, is this what we want to be doing? And I suspect sometimes it's a pretty scary question if you feel deep down it's not something you want to be doing. And it can be very scary to sit there and be honest with yourself in that way. Because if the answer is no, then that begs an equally frightening question of what can I be doing? What do I actually want? And it's so critical to give yourself that space. We forget that when we don't live life with a purpose, when we're not ourselves, what we're subconsciously telling ourselves is that we're not good enough, we're not worthy, we're not, who we are is not enough. And it is. I promise you, each and every one of you watching, who you are is more than enough. You have these qualities, you have these gifts, and you have a voice that the world needs to hear. And I get it. It's scary. It is so scary to bring that voice out, and not everybody's going to like it, and not everybody's going to agree with it, but that's okay, because those who need to hear it, I promise you, need to hear it. And you are capable of making such an impact, and you probably are making an impact every single day without even realizing that you're doing that.
And it's so interesting how we do that, isn't it? Like, so we're constantly like, okay, well, I have to be more like Angela. I have to be more like Marianne, or I have to be more like Jane. Like, I just need to be more than who it is that I am. But yet, if you actually talk to the people who are around you, is that and it doesn't have to be a professional. It doesn't have to be like, that's one of the things that I hear is like, oh yeah, well, you give such sound advice because like, that's what it is that you are. And it's like, but I get a lot of my points or my really important things from the people that are in my groups, from the people that are in, and so that's where I get some of those tidbits. It's like, oh yeah, there's my reminder. And sometimes it's those things that we hear. We've heard it from our mother, we've heard it from a sister, we've heard it from a colleague. And then that one particular day, one particular person happens to say the exact same thing that you've been hearing. And it's like,
click.
Light bulb, right? So it's like light bulb. And so Marianne says that is so true, to be honest to ourselves. And she also says we are good to help others, but forget ourselves. And so like, that is just so true. Like we forget ourselves. And
we forget, it comes to that analogy that, a mother's on the plane with her child, there's turbulence, the oxygen masks come down, and what she's supposed to do is put it on herself so she has the wherewithal to help her child. But we forget to put the metaphorical oxygen mask on ourselves.
Yep. And it is so important for us to be able to do, because if we don't replenish ourselves, and so being able to be out last weekend around the water was like, that was that rejuvenation and being able to connect. And for us, I'm not sure how things have been for you guys in Quebec, but for us, things just started opening back up again. And so for us, we've been on lockdown. We haven't been able to have that social interaction and those connections. And so being able to hang out with Jen out in public.
Precious.
Right? So like, not just being able to connect and slow down and just be in nature, it was being able to have like that connection with other people that were outside of my bubble. Like, right? So like, it's just those different things that are so important. And if nothing else that COVID has taught us over the last couple years is the importance of us being able to connect with others, and that lack of connection that we've had. Because those are the things that we need to be able to function. We are social beings, and being socially connected is like so important for us to be able to do.
100%, 100%. And again, it comes back to allowing yourself that time. And it's not wasted time to have fun and to enjoy the company of others, and to do things that you love, because that's when you're at your happiest. And that's when the real you, that's when you become unapologetically you. Like, think of that song that you just can't help but dance to, and you don't care who's watching, and if it's me, I'm dancing completely out of rhythm like an idiot, but I'm having so much fun, and I'm just enjoying the moment. And guess what? The people around me are just enjoying me enjoying the moment. And happiness is very, like anger and sadness, is very contagious. And when you give yourself that permission to have fun and to just be unapologetically, ridiculously dancing out of rhythm you, it brings about such a positive energy that undoubtedly impacts other people, and then they feel more at ease. People respond to authenticity. When you're authentic, that's when you're going to get the best responses from the best interactions, because we have an innate ability to tell when we don't feel somebody's being sincere, and we tend to push away from that. But when you're really being your true self, that's when you're at your most attractive.
And it really is that important part of things. And so Marianne says to connect with others, but to connect with the right people. So that's definitely a given. And yes, to be able to to have fun and cut loose and be silly. And it really is like, so my very favorite time is to be able to hang out with the kids, right? Because you get to actually tap into that energy. I do have a couple of friends that we can actually get into that silliness and get into that that full child play kind of self, but like being able to go and play in the park and jump on the, go down the slide, and right, like just doing these little things. And so people will be like, you'll sometimes have people say, well, you can't go down the slide. Even the
Why
kids
not?
have
Do it.
like the kids have these, like, you can't go down the slide, you're bigger. And I'm like, I don't care, I'm going down the slide. Are you coming with me or not? Right? So like, it's just being able to go and have these fun things to be able to do and let loose and just really be that full authentic self that allows us to be able to be natural. And so we were just talking about the authenticity of chatting with wisdom, right? So like, we come on and we have no clue what we're talking about. We have a theme like that. We have a title, right? Like, that's it. We have no idea how we're going to be getting into conversation, what we're going to be talking about. We've never met before. So like, that's even that much more exciting because we actually get to be who we really are on camera. So like, are we nervous? Yeah, absolutely. Like that's normal, right? That's normal. But at the same time, we get to laugh and we get to just be ourselves and have these conversations. And that is one of the things that makes chatting with wisdom that that whole unapologetically you fits perfectly, right? So it's really
and the other piece.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, just to add to what you're saying. The other piece is to not be afraid to make mistakes and to flub on your words and to start one thought, which I already saw myself doing, and then shift over to another thought, and to worry about this idea of being perfect. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. It's okay. Just be yourself.
And it really is so important for us to just be ourselves. And so Marianne actually makes a really good point. Like, when we're with kids, we actually don't feel judged when we're with kids.
Yes.
Because we get to just be at that self. But we need to do that more with our with the people around us, so that we can actually just be us and be silly and have fun and not have to worry about what somebody else is going to think. And so it's just so important that we focus on what feels right for us. And that's one of the things that you said at the beginning, right? So we get into these mundane, getting up in the morning, doing all the blah, blah, blah things. Like, yeah, there's some things that we need to do. We need to get up and shower in the morning.
Of course.
Need to get up and brush our teeth, right? Like, people will appreciate us better if we do those things, right? But it's, but like, otherwise it's like, so what other kinds of things can we do to be able to have fun? What are some of the other things that we can do to just be able to, like, so if we're going for our walk, for example, putting on some like boppy kind of music, and why can't we bop down the road while we're walking, right? So somebody might be looking, but maybe they might want to join us, right? Who knows?
And just accept, and easier said than done. I hear that. But just accept, not everybody's going to appreciate you or want to hear what you have to say or even like you. But that's okay, because that just means that they're just not meant to be part of your circle, which clears more room for the people who actually do appreciate you and want you in their lives, that you can help and that you want, and equally important, that you want in your life. I think Marianne, is it Marianne? Yeah, I think she was saying earlier, make sure that everybody, the people who are in your life, are the people that value you and appreciate you. Well, when you're yourself and people don't, that can be a clear indicator that, you know what, maybe these are not the right people for me. Now I can clear room or make more time for the people I want in my life.
And sometimes that's really tough, because some of these people that we probably shouldn't have in our lives are family members, right? So then we get stuck on, oh, well, there's this loyalty to like being connected with family. And sometimes being able to cut those ties, obviously we don't need to, if we're going to a family function, obviously they're going to be there. We can't really change that part, but we don't have to be, they don't need to be in our lives every day. So if they're at a family function, they're at a family function, but otherwise they don't need to be part of our, who we are and who we live. And so we get to be who we are. And that is really important. So Marianne also says, Marianne's like full of wisdom. Because true friends should accept you for the way that you are. And and for those of you who are watching right now, and including on the replay, like, definitely give us what are your thoughts? What do you think? What's going on? Because like, these conversations that we have make these chatting with wisdoms even that much more enlightening, because it's it's that understanding of who we are. I have somebody that watches every single week, and very, very seldom
Amazing.
she comment publicly, and that's okay. But she will often come back to me and say, "Hey, I was watching it. It was either live or on the
Mm-hmm.
replay, and it was like, oh well, it was just amazing." And so, because these chatting with wisdoms are really about being that authentic you, and so yes, a lot of people that come on are professionals, and it's part of their domain, or part of what it is that they do, or part of their practices. But we've also had people that have come on and have just been them, right? So
Yeah.
like it's been, and those are just as enlightening, right? So Marianne
Yeah.
is sharing her wisdom just
Love
in the
it.
chats, right?
Yes.
So like these are her little tidbits of things that she's learned, and it's one of the other things that you said is it's so easy. It's easier said than done, right? So it's
Yes.
so easier said than done. So even us as professionals, even
Yeah.
us who've been doing this, and that we counsel others and we help others work through this part of things, is that sometimes we forget that we're supposed to
Yeah.
stop and smell the roses and just
Yeah.
be us and dance in the middle of the street because we
Yeah.
want to dance in the middle of the street because like our favorite song has come on, and like all those kinds of things, right? We forget
Yes.
because we need to do all the things, and we all wear different roles and different
Mm-hmm.
hats. And
Yeah.
so yes, so if we were a seated judge, then obviously we can't be dancing in the middle of the courtroom, right?
Maybe
Like there's,
not. Probably wouldn't go over
there's
too well.
ethics. There's a few ethical things that we need to be, but when they go back to their chambers, or when they go back to being in their space, then like
Why not?
there's nothing wrong with being themselves. Like, so
Yeah.
we sometimes have a role, and we need to follow what it is that we're doing and
Yeah.
how it is that we're doing. And so it is so important for us to be able to do this. So Catherine says everyone's life is worth a novel, professional or otherwise. And you're so right. Like we
Yes.
all have a book within us. Everybody has a book
Yes.
written already within us. Marianne says, like the song Footloose. Absolutely. Like just dance in the streets, man. Like, like just go out and have fun.
Yes.
So Pam says, I sat out in the middle of the road in the rain last night at last night at 12 a.m. Hopefully not in the middle of the road, Pam. Like hopefully you were safe. And Catherine says, we all have a story. And I like the idea of being unapologetic. So
Yes.
step out to be your author of your own story. I love that.
Yes.
Every day we get to write a new chapter.
How exciting is that? When you really stop and think about it, how exciting is it that every day you have the choices, you have the choice to decide how you want your life to be and how you want to react to whatever happens in your life. Sometimes things happen out of our control, but we always have a choice. And we always have the ability to choose what we're going to do with whatever's thrown at us. I find that super exciting personally.
And it really is that super exciting.
Yeah.
And so it's that being able to make the choices, and because it is a choice every single day.
Yeah.
So just because we chose something yesterday and it didn't work for us, we can choose something tomorrow.
Yes.
And we can choose something in an hour. Like if we have the right to change our mind and
100%. Yes.
choices. And those are the things that we sometimes forget because we're so stuck on being focused on what other people need to be doing, and making the decisions that we make for ourselves will impact other people. But if it's right for us, then that's what it is that we need to be doing, and that's what we need to be following. And other people aren't going to like it.
And that's okay. That's fine.
You don't need to be sorry about that. So, so Pam said, absolutely, she was in the middle of the road. We don't live in a very huge community. So so being out in the middle of the road in the middle of the night in the rain was probably relatively safe.
That's so awesome, Pam. That must have been such a cool experience to just be there and be like, if that's not acceptance of a situation for what it is, I don't know what is. That's awesome.
And Marianne said she has to go, and she said thank you. So thank you very much, Marianne.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for everything you're saying, Marianne. That was awesome.
Because it's really important for us to be able to have that voice and be able to have, and not everything that we say, other people are going to accept, right? So like not anything that we do, not anything that we say, not anything that we decide is going to be 100%. And I think we live in a world where we need to try and please others. right? So it's
Yeah.
like, so like, oh, well, so-and-so's not going to be happy. So does it make you happy? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? So, and again, it's that easier said than done. And it's those little baby steps, right?
Yeah.
So we take those little steps. It doesn't have to be anything huge. We don't have to go out and change our career. We don't have to go to Alaska. We can actually do these little things that allows us to be able to make those daily decisions, so that we can actually be authentically ourselves.
Yes.
So,
And actually, just to add to that, for instance, if you like to dance, maybe in rhythm, maybe out of rhythm, just put on a song you love in the middle when you're home and just blast it and dance. And that's just doing something for yourself. If you enjoy that, if you like singing, put on your favorite. Who cares if you're in key or out of key? You're in your house. It's fine. And just belt out a song, whatever it is that you enjoy doing. You like to draw, then just look at a picture, look at something and just start drawing it. It doesn't matter, but just do small things that you enjoy that'll bring you pleasure.
yeah.
It's so important. And it, like you said, really, it doesn't have to be big. It can just be a 2-minute dance. That's fine. That's great. It's something for you. That's the key part.
And that's the part that's like super important for us
Yeah.
to be able to do, is that just ourselves allows us to really be able to tune in to those important parts of who we are.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're on this life for a journey, right? So we're here to have an experience. And when we stilt that experience, we don't grow.
Yeah. And when we're
Right?
not ourselves, again, when we're not ourselves, then we don't grow, like you said, and we don't give those great gifts that we have within us to the other people around us, and they don't get to know and love the real us, which I promise you is much more lovable than the person we're pretending to be, because it's coming from a genuine place.
It really is. And
Yeah.
that is something in my 51 years that has taken me a long time to get to, because it was like, well, you need to be seen and not heard. And all these other things that we were actually, or like, okay, well, women aren't supposed to do this. And one of the things that I'm really fortunate of is I was actually using the judge earlier as an example. But when I was 18 and I was working for a lawyer, we went out for the law firm that we worked for. Always welcomed all of their staff in, and so we had lawyers that were present, we had judges that were present, we had like a whole bunch of different people that were there gathering for the Christmas dinner, and they sat me beside the judge. Like, I'm the newest kid on the block, I'm like the youngest one on the block, and they got me sitting beside the female judge, and her words resonated with me, and I've never forgotten them, because it was. So, and she's like, so if you come into my courtroom, yes, there's like going to be protocol and things like that. She said, but we are here, 2 humans, 2 females, and I am no more important than you are. And I'm like, and those words have always resonated with me. It was like, I can be me. I can do whatever it is that I need to do. Yes, there's laws that I need to follow. There's rules that I need to abide by, but at the same time, I still get to be me. And so it was still intimidating sitting beside the judge.
I'm sure it was. I'm intimidated hearing the story.
Right. But after that, it was like, it didn't matter. So any other social function that we had that we went to, whether it was a barbecue or another gathering or whatever she was another human, and she was no important than I was in those settings. And so it's just so important for us to be able to remember to just be ourselves and allow ourselves. And so that's when my mindset started changing and shifting, and it's continued, and I still have some trouble sometimes, but that was my aha. That was my like, oh my gosh. And so these are the things that I remind the people that I have in my life, that so whether they are my friends, my family, or my clients, it's just something I remind them, is that there's not any one person in this world that is more important than you.
Yes. Oh, yes. 100%. 100%. And oh, go on. No, go on.
No, go ahead.
And that's just it. And again, it all comes down to, because already, and even my thoughts are like, well, what about, my loved ones? What about, some people say, what about my children? What about all these other people? They deserve to have you at your best, and that you're at your best when you're truly yourself and you're the most authentic self.
And it really is. And that is one of the things that are so important for, and because they deserve us at our best as much as we deserve them at their best.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So but we have no control over anyone else but ourselves. No. We get to choose. Right. And that's the part that's like really important. So, so I added your link for your free downloadable version of your book. And so you said it's about to launch. So when is it coming out?
Yeah. So it's going to officially launch on August 19th. We'll be having an online launch party at 5:30 Eastern time. And yeah, it's basically, like you said in the intro, I was so tired of seeing these amazing, brilliant women just not see that and continuously put themselves last and continuously put themselves down. So I thought, well, you know what? It's time to, I have a voice, and it was scary. It was a very scary thing to do. And I thought, well, no, you deserve to see how amazing you are. So let me think of everything I've learned, my story, what I've been doing with clients, and let me put it all together in a book to really look at how can you be your best self, which is genuinely your most authentic self, and do the things that you love and put yourself back in the driver's seat of life, if you want to call it that. But put yourself, you're not a passenger. You're not a supporting cast. You are the star. You are the heroine or hero of your own story. And that's what the book's really all about.
And that is so important for us to be able to do, and so empowering, because it is something that, and again, when we get told, well, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do it this way and you need to do it that way. And it's just so important for us to be able to, so long as the end result is what it is that we're achieving, then how we get there doesn't really matter, right?
And there's going to stumble. We're going to stumble. We're going to fall. We're going to wonder, like, what am I doing and why am I doing this? We all have those moments. What's really key, though, is to know your why. Why is this so important to you? And to really tap deep often. And I know myself, too, when I ask myself why, the first answer is superficial. It's what it should be. Oh, it's because I want to make sure I help everyone, which of course, that's part of it. But dig deeper. Why is that so important to you? And really get to the point where when you look at your why, you feel excited and motivated. And then that's going to carry you through those difficult, stressful moments when things don't exactly go as expected.
Yep. And so things sometimes will not go as expected, right? So like I know
100%.
My husband often says, okay, well, I don't plan anything because it doesn't ever go the way that I want it to. No, because like it's not necessarily supposed to go that way.
Yeah.
It just happens. But like if you have an idea or a goal or someplace that you're actually aiming to reach, then it allows you to be able to get there a little, it gives you some guidance to be able to get to wherever it is that you want to be able to go. Right. So like if you're going on a road trip, you're going to go on the road trip. And if there's bumps along the road or you have to take detours, it's not the end of the world. You're still going to get there.
Well, that's exactly it. It's just that it's to have a plan and to know that you're not tied to that plan. Because as the bumps in the road happen, as you get more knowledge, maybe you might have thought you wanted to go one way. And then suddenly you think about it, you look at the situation, you decide, oh, wait, that's not exactly what I want. But I'm glad I tried it because now it put me on the road to something else that I want to do.
Yeah.
And to accept that, because that's part of the journey. And that's, again, part of the fun part.
It is part of the fun part. And even sometimes when we're in the thick of it, it's not necessarily the most.
Not in that moment.
When we actually look back and see all the changes and the impacts of everything that we actually see is because it's made a difference. Like every one of those mistakes or each and every one of those challenges or each and every one of those traumas all have a huge impact. So Beverly says, I recently took up acrylic abstract painting, just having fun, not on being good and focusing on the playful that time that I'm having. We're often too concerned about being critical with ourselves. By doing the latter, we miss out on just enjoying ourselves. I guess what I'm trying to say is that just to stop taking life so seriously and need to be so self-critical. By allowing one's playful side to emerge, you are allowing yourself to enjoy whatever you are doing in life. Beautiful.
Amazing. Yes, 100%. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Because it is just so important for us to be able to do. And so when we do that, it allows us to be able to be in that space. It allows us to be able to be in that moment. And so Catherine says, good point about goals. If you don't know where you want to go, the odds are you're never going to get there. Most of us don't know where we really want to go. That's why finding out your why seems like a good way to start. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
So is there anything else that you want to touch on we haven't yet touched on before we head out?
Oh, it was just to continue what you were saying earlier about mistakes and it having an impact, is just to add to that, to say that every mistake is an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to learn more about yourself. Every obstacle you overcome is evidence of how strong and capable and resilient you really are. And when you can start to make that shift and start to see things in that way, suddenly there won't be as much regret. So long as you can learn from whatever has happened, it helps make you the powerhouse that you are. It helps you to recognize how much stronger you are. When I think back in my life, it's the most difficult moments that I've ever endured where I had the most growth, the most learning, and in a way also the most respect for myself, because I look back and I'm like, oh wow, I overcame that. 10-year-old Angela never believed that would ever happen, but it happened and I overcame it, and I am capable. And the same to you guys. You are so capable. You are so much more capable than maybe you might recognize you are. And those moments help you recognize it. In the exact moment, I get it. It's not fun. It's not pleasant. It's what happens afterwards as you overcome it, to look back and see that how you were able to do it. It's amazing.
And it really is amazing. And so I want to thank you for being able to remind all of us, because these are all things that we know, even though we don't necessarily live it every day. These are all still things that we know. But
oh, it froze on my end.
Hello, I'm back.
Oh, good.
There's a slight interruption with technology, right? So like those technological gremlins sometimes come in, and one of the things is when I first started doing these kinds of things, it was like, oh my God, it didn't work. I'm gonna have to delete it. It's just like not gonna happen. Now it's like, it's technology. We live with technology. That is part of who we are in terms of our society. And sometimes we have to just go with it. So, so I was saying thank you so much for bringing this knowledge to all of us, and being here and sharing your wisdom. And thank you so much, Angela. It was a pleasure having a conversation with you, and for everybody who has shared and has given your feedback. Like, so important for us to be able to have these conversations, because we don't always remember to have these conversations. So thank you again so much, and I will
thank you for having me. Thank you. It was awesome being here. It was so much fun.
Anytime. Yeah, so anytime. So if anybody would like to be in contact with Angela, her contact information is in the description, so you have access to being able to contact her. And definitely looking forward to reading your book, and looking forward to chatting with all of you guys next week. Bye for now.
Bye.